Hey guys, welcome back to another video in this channel. My name is Abraham Leal, and today we're gonna continue with our very nice lighthouse scene. We're gonna be working on the lighthouse, and the overwhelming majority, I would say, probably like a 75% of you, from the guys that voted, of course. Remember, your voice is heard on this channel. We actually hear your comments. We read every single comment, and we take it into consideration. So, 75% of you, roughly, mentioned that you want me to take this into a game engine. So that means that we're gonna have to optimize this thing for a game engine, which is actually great. Film is great as well, but it definitely involves like higher texture counts, higher poly counts. Like it's a little bit more complicated than just the traditional like gaming techniques. So I'm gonna be showing you. We're going to be doing a short video today because I actually have a couple of things to do, but I'm going to be showing you how to work with these little guys right here. And here's the deal, right? Like we have a lot of them, and the problem with having so many of them is some of you might think, well, we're gonna have to sculpt like 20 or 30 of them and then just like go from there inside of Zbrush or in the engine or something. And no, the actual way in which we're gonna be doing this is we're gonna be creating a kit. So we're gonna be doing 2 or 3 of them, and then we're gonna be reutilizing them as much as possible, because one of the things that we're gonna be talking about quite a bit later on is texel resolution. Like we want everything to look very, very nice in regards to the resolution that it has. Okay, so we're gonna be using this, guys, as a sort of our benchmark to see how high we can actually go with our textures. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go File, and I'm actually gonna grab like 1 and 2 of them. I'm gonna say File, Export Selection, and we're gonna go into our Assets folder. We definitely need to create a new folder here called Lighthouse, because things are gonna get a little bit crazy. We're gonna create a new one called Wood Pillars. So we're gonna go right here, and we're gonna use this as our reference pillar reference. Remember, organization is gonna be super important. I've seen so many projects where people are like super messy, and not only is it difficult to actually know what you're doing, it's difficult to get help because people try to help you and they see how you have a complete mess in your scene, and they can't find things, they can't find the objects. It's just super difficult. So the reason I wanted to bring these guys in here is because I want to have like the real scale of the elements, which is the real scale that we have in the world, right? So I'm gonna position this one right around here. It doesn't really matter if this is not symmetrical because I don't want them to be symmetrical. And then let's move them right here. I actually think we can zero these guys out. Yeah, there we go. One of the advantages of not doing any freeze transformation just yet, so we're gonna just zero this out. Let's position this one right here. Let's move this one right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna do 2 of them. So I'm gonna be like this. So it's gonna be, let's call this pillar A, pillar B, pillar A, pillar B. So all of them, I'm actually gonna grab all of these guys right here. Let's call them pillars, or let's call them wood pillar underscore. And you're gonna get, like, if you don't have this tool right here, just click on this little icon right here, this little arrow, and you should have this rename tool right here. Super useful. So this is gonna be wood pillar. I usually like using letters rather than numbers, because numbers tend to be a little bit confusing sometimes, especially when you have like a lot of them, and letters tend to be a little bit easier to follow. So that's it. We have our base pillars, and it's important that we have the proper height because we're going to be using this inside of Zbrush and inside of Marmoset and everything, or Substance, and we want to have like the proper things. So I'm going to call this pillars underscores base mesh. As you can see, we're gonna have a lot of objects. We're gonna have base meshes, high polys, low polys, baked polys, like the final polys. Like it's gonna be crazy, guys. That's why naming convention is gonna be super important. In Mexico, we have this thing where we would do like projects, and you would call this like final project, this is it. Final project, I really swear this is it. Final project version 3. Final project, I swear to God, I'm not gonna stop doing this. And you get like your desktop filled with garbage, and you don't really know which one is the last one. So super important. Try to always keep it clean. Versioning is probably the easiest way to do so. So if you're going to be doing something a lot of times, just version 1, 2, 3, 4. That way, when you need to check which one was the last one, well, of course, the last number is going to be the one that you want. And here, as you can see, we're going to get our import, and everything's going to be a single subtool. Or actually, yeah, each specific pillar is going to be its own subtool, which is fine. But I actually want to have them all in the same place, so it's a little bit easier to work, and I'd rather have just like polygroups. It's just different ways to work. So I'm just gonna go here into merge, and I'm gonna say merge visible, and we're gonna have this one right here. Perfect. Dynamesh, like straight to Dynamesh. And let's look for reference, right? Because we definitely need to look for wood pillar dock, and this is kind of like the thing I'm looking for. So as you can see, very simple. Like there's really not much like actual surface that we should be adding to these things. And this is probably the main lesson that I want you guys to get from this like workflow that I'm showing you right here. If we're gonna be doing like kit bashes or kits of elements, you don't want to have like something super specific. Like you don't want to have one of these guys be like this, right? Because if you do this right here, then it's going to be very obvious when you repeat this guy 20 times that this is the same block, right? So you want to keep it simple. That's one of the advices that I would give you. You want to keep it simple. So we're definitely going to add a little bit of damage and just like form and stuff to the elements, but most of the job is going to be done on the texture side of things. So I'm going to go here. Let's go with trim dynamic. Just soften this guys a little bit here. We're definitely going to smooth everything out because you can see we still have like the, oh, careful there. We still have like the sort of like faceted look from the original polygons. One way you can avoid that, by the way, if we were to smooth them out before we do the Dynamesh, that tends to disappear. So there we go. And as you can see, well, I can see in the reference, they're pretty straight. Like, I mean, unless you go like super crazy like this, they tend to be pretty straight. So even like this super old ones, you can see they're pretty straight. So we can get away with that, right? So just smooth this out here inside of Zbrush. Now this of course means that you probably must know a little bit about Zbrush. Not super necessary. You can get away with this with like Blender or Maya sculpting tools. To like change the form of these things a little bit. But I would strongly recommend, if you haven't checked Zbrush out, give it a shot. We have our courses, of course. I actually did a course for you guys. It's the Intro to Zbrush 2021 or 2020, I believe. It's like a basic course for all of the tools in Zbrush, and we're preparing a new one, by the way. So stay tuned. That one's a little bit more advanced. It's also going to start from beginner level, but we're going to go like a really advanced in the hard surface thing. So there we go. Let's add again a little bit of volume here. They're kind of like candles. It's kind of like doing candles, right? Now, one thing that I definitely want to sculpt is the upper side here, because on the logs, let me see if I can find a reference. Yeah, on the upper side of the reference, you're gonna see like the actual like that tree bark, right? So there we go. Now, one thing that you need to take into consideration when talking about games is every time the silhouette changes, like every bevel or like a flattened edge that I add, it's gonna increase the poly count because I'm gonna need a couple of extra polygons here or there to really make those work. Now, I don't care as much about the lower side of things because most of them are gonna be like overlapping with the floor a little bit. So we can leave them like this, like maybe just a simple, like a very simple bevel. Because again, you're probably not gonna see the underside of these things. Now let's go Control D a couple of times. And here's two trains of thought that you can use, or two techniques that you can use. You can sculpt the wood grain yourself, especially if you're going for like this like stylized effect. That's a very good way to do it. Or you can just texture it. Use the texture and the hide information from the texture maps to do it as well. I think for this particular asset, I am gonna use the texture sets inside of Substance, and I just want to add like general shapes over here. So I'm going to be texturing most of this, and this generally applies a little bit more to games than it does to film, because in film you can actually go with displacement, and displacement is going to really displace the geometry. So you can create some very cool things with textures here inside of Zbrush and then displace them. Since we're not going to be displacing and everything's going to be on the normal map, then we can keep it a little bit simple. The thing that we do need to worry about are the shapes over here, the log shapes. Now, I do believe that there are some alphas. So let's look for some wood alphas. Let's say Zbrush. Some of them, of course, are gonna be a little bit pricey, but this is kind of like the knot that I'm looking for. Like, that's the kind of thing that you wanna like. You can do it, of course. You can sculpt it, but why sculpt it if there's a little bit of an easier way to do it? So, for instance, here we have one by Fredo Gutierrez. And it seems like it's free. So, well, if it's free, Don't mind if I do, right? We have a knot, which is close to what we're looking for, so I'm just gonna download this. You can, of course, add a little bit of a tip if you want, and you're gonna get this. So we have the C alphas and C brushes. Let's download the alphas because that's the thing I'm gonna be using. And here's another quick tip for you guys. If you open your zip folder, like here, you're gonna have this, all of this alphas. You're gonna navigate to wherever you have your software installed. So in my case, I have it on a separate hard drive. So it's Zbrush, there we go. And then on the C alphas folder, you can create a new folder, call this like Bark. And then drag and drop this PSDs in there. There you go. And then now, if you go into Zbrush, and you go into your Lightbox and into your alphas, you're gonna have the new folder, Bark, and your alphas, like this knot right here. There we go. So I'm just gonna grab my standard brush and add the knot over there, and that will allow me, let's change this to drag rect, of course, that will allow me to create the knot on top in the way I want, right? So thank you, Fredo Gutierrez, for sharing this alphas with us, because now we're gonna be able to do something cool with it, right? So here's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna go with my mask alpha. I'm gonna mask the upper area right here. Invert the mask so that everything else is covered, and we can increase the intensity a little bit, and we can create like the knot over there. There we go. So we do another knot. Let's try to rotate things a little bit so that we don't get the exact same like effect everywhere. So a little bit of a different direction in each one of them. There we go. Now this kit also has some very nice elements, like bark elements. So we might as well, if we already have this right here, we can already texture them. Of course, let's lower the intensity a little bit and probably go in C sub, so we go inside the object. There we go. And now here I'm trying to follow the same like sort of direction that we have with the knot. That's going to be very important because we want to keep it as realistic as possible. This is also going to make it a little bit easier in the texture side of things, because we should be able to match the textures in a better way. Let's go there. There. Doesn't matter if you have to do it like a couple of times. Now, as you can see, we're going realistic. I know some of you guys suggested that we go a little bit stylized. I think we're gonna go like a little bit of both, like not completely stylized, but I do want to keep my textures a little bit realistic. Unreal, we're gonna be doing this on Unreal. There was a comment that said, "Hey, can you do it in Unity?" I would love to, my friend, but unfortunately, I'm not very proficient with all of the textures and things inside of, well, not textures, like the workflows inside of Unity. I've been using Unreal for the past couple years. And even then, I'm not super like proficient in Unreal. I just know the basics, because I'm an artist. I'm not a programmer, so my main focus is art, of course. So there we go. There we go. Now here's where I would go and maybe add a couple of like specific things on some of the elements. Like you guys know I love doing like this sort of like chip effects. Just basic, right? Because I don't want the border to be like super obvious. So adding like a little bit of bark here and there. And we have this very nice locks. Remember, don't go with like a crazy crevice right here, because it's gonna be very obvious once you see it repeated several times. Now, one of the reasons why we're doing 2 of each is so that we can mix and match. So technically, we're gonna be able to mix and match these guys, and you can just rotate them, move them around, maybe even scale them a little bit, and you should be completely fine. And that's the kind of thing that we do. Some people, like if you want to go like super optimized, then you're just doing 1 or 2. Like 1 tall one and 1 small one, and that's it. That's also another way to do it, but in this case, we're gonna keep it like this. Now, you guys know that retopology is one of those things that takes quite a bit of time, and retopology is mostly important when you're gonna be deforming something. So in this particular case, since these guys are not gonna be deforming, we can actually get away with doing a little bit of an automatic retopology here inside of Zbrush. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna clone this guy, or actually duplicate this guy, and let's generate the high poly. So the high poly, the only thing I need to do is I need to bring this down to a more 231,000 polygons is not bad, so I'm actually just gonna export it like this. If we needed to, we could just export this as a lower element. So I'm gonna export, and we're gonna go to our projects here, 2021, and Nexttut Live, assets, Lighthouse, wood pillars, and this is gonna be wood pillars high, right? So wood pillars underscore high. OBJ is fine. And those are gonna have like all of the information. And then we are gonna be remeshing one of them. So I'm gonna duplicate again. So let's go here. Let's turn this guy off. I'm gonna go geometry, Z remesher, and let's bring this down to like a 2 and say Z remesh. So what this should do is it should minimize the amount of polygons that we have. It's gonna go real aggressive right now, as you can see. Like that's pretty damn good, like pretty damn good, but still a little bit heavy, right? Like having it's almost 6K polygons or triangles, so that's still a little bit too much because we're gonna be duplicating these guys quite a bit. So I'm gonna say half right here. I'm gonna say Z remesher again, and you can see that's a little bit better. That's about 5K. Let's do one more. That's about 3K. It's a little bit better. But I think if I go and try doing if I try doing it again, it might just like lose too much form on the top side, and I think I can manually reduce this in Maya. So I'm gonna export this guys now, and we're gonna call them. Let's go again to our project here. So Nexttut Live, assets, Lighthouse, wood pillars, and these are gonna be wood pillars low. There we go. So let's go to Maya now. This guys, bye-bye. Don't need you guys anymore. File, import, and let's import our wood pillars low. There we go. So as I mentioned, I think we can reduce this manually. And the reason why it's going to be a little bit easier is we actually don't need as many polygons like going all the way throughout. Like we need a good amount in the cap, but not so many like down here. So for instance, what I can do is I can just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I'm going to be skipping one edge loop. And then I'm just going to say Control and delete to make sure that we delete all of the vertices right there. Maybe this one even. There we go. So as you can see, the silhouette doesn't change as much, and we've reduced this all the way to 770. And now on this cap, like we definitely do not need all of this guys down here. You can see like these two guys, no matter, it doesn't really matter. Let's just make them a triangle right there. And actually, like we can grab all of these faces right here, because this is a cap that we're not gonna be seeing. It's going to be hitting on the ground. So all of that, guys, just going to grab all of them and just going to say merge to center. And there we go. Like we were able to reduce this from 770 triangles to only 584, which is a lot more manageable. Now, if I take a look at this is like 20-sided cylinder, which is fine. I really don't want to go lower. I'm thinking about like reducing even one more line here. See, like that really didn't change the silhouette as much, and now we're all the way down to 464. So this is probably where I would left this one right here, and then later on, if there's like performance issue and they're like, no, we really need to reduce geometry a lot more, then we'll reduce it more. Now, polygons are one of those things that are not gonna be mattering that much in the near future. Some of you guys have already seen the newest Unreal Engine 5. Or even tested the new Unreal Engine 5. I actually have tested it. We might do it in Unreal Engine 5, especially for the cliff. I think that would be like a really nice effect. And one of the things about the new Unreal is that you can use something called Nanite, which is a way in which you can very easily just like ignore the poly count and just work with whatever polygon you want, because it's kind of like a decimation process where it will decimate everything in real time, and that will make sure that it will help you keep a very high poly count that's not actually polygons. The only downside to using that thing is that you can only use that for things that are not going to be deforming. So if your object's going to be deforming like a character, then Nanite is not going to be compatible. As long as everything moves as a solid, then you can even rig a character using Nanite. However, it must be something that's not going to be deforming. Super important that. So yeah, maybe. Let's go here. Just merge to center. You can see we reduce. Am I selecting something? Yeah. So let's go to face. Let's merge to center, and that already reduces quite a bit the geometry. As you can see, I'm leaving the borders. Borders are really important because they really hold the geometry. So in this case, I'm gonna skip 1 and delete 2. So skip 1, delete 2, skip 1, and delete 2, and that should give me this sort of effect. This one, since it's a little bit taller and has a little bit more change in the geometry up there, will be a little bit more intense. How are we doing on time, by the way? Oh, super fast. nice. Now I know I move a little bit fast, guys, so this probably might take you guys a couple more minutes than what I'm doing. That just comes with practice and experience. But it's not something like out of the ordinary. This is a very basic, like low poly, high poly process that we do. So let's do 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, oh, 2, 2, 1, and that's it. So yeah, 360 at triangles. So combined, all of those guys only have 1700 triangles, which is quite nice because I know we're gonna have like 20 or 40 of these guys. So hopefully at the end of after we've after we've done everything, it shouldn't be that bad, right? Now I'm gonna just combine everything here. Actually, no, I'm not gonna combine everything here, and I'll show you why in just a second. I'm gonna say UV, and I'm gonna say just delete UVs because I don't want any UVs to be here. And then I'm gonna use my traditional technique, UV, planar mapping. Usually I like to do a planar mapping from the camera, just so that we don't have any faces that are completely flat to the camera, and then the unfold doesn't work as nice. And then one by one, we're gonna be doing our traditional UV cut. So you know this one, it's the cap, and then across. It doesn't really matter which across we're doing in this case because it's such an organic shape. Then the same deal here. We're gonna do cap, and across, and then we're gonna do UV 3D cut. So it's cap, and across, and finally UV 3D cut, cap, yeah, that's like small cap, and across, and there we go. So now we grab all of them. We grab all of the UVs. Oh, we press Control U to unfold, and there we go. It seems like we have an extra cut there that I don't really want. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I'll rather have this thing be a single like island. So I'm gonna say code sue and just gonna sue that. And again, Control U to unfold. Control U, there we go. And then we're gonna press Control L to layout. And this is what we're gonna have. As you can see, we have a little bit of extra space right there. It's not that bad. But the most important thing, and this is a number that we're gonna be using quite a bit, is I know that these guys are gonna have probably like a 2K map. And if I select the islands and I go here into the text into the tools option, into the texel unit, I can say, okay, this guy's gonna have a 2048. What's the texel? Okay, it has a texel of 13.3 units per pixel. So depending on this or on the size of this object, it has all the way up to 13 units per pixel, which is quite nice. It's a nice texel resolution for games, I think, for this one specifically. So this is kind of like our benchmark. We can't go lower than this, and if we go lower than this, it has to be with things that are going to be like far away from us. But this number right here, 13, about 10, 13, that's going to be like our main unit, okay? So there we go. Let's just grab these guys, and we're going to rename them again. So let's call them wood pillars underscore. It has a namespace. I hate namespaces. You're going to go into Windows, General Editors, Namespaces, and you're going to delete this guy. I don't really know why they exist. Like, I know why they exist. I don't know why people use them. And one very important thing, I'm going to call this underscore low. And this flag that we have right here, it's a flag we're going to have everywhere. And the reason why we have that is because we're now going to import the wood pillars high. I'm going to delete or unselect this namespace so that we don't import a namespace. And this is going to be, whoa, okay, we have a big problem here. And the problem is it created this very weird thing where it's separated into different polygroups. No worries, very easy to fix. Just combine everything here into a single mesh and then delete history. Might be a little bit heavy. If not, you're just going to have to go back into Zbrush and re-export, delete history. Select all of this, guys, combine and delete history. Select all of this, guys, combine, and delete history. There you go. So now we have only 4 of them. And now, very important, you're going to say mesh, and you're going to say edit mesh, merge. Very, very important that you merge so that all of those things that we combine are now like welded together. Otherwise, things are not going to work. So same deal, edit mesh, merge, G to repeat the last action, G to repeat the last action, that's it. Now the name of your objects, this is very important. We're gonna select the name of this object and we're gonna copy this into this other guy and we're gonna rename it hi. Super important to do this. So this guy, that's the other one. So that guy is gonna be underscore hi. Because we're gonna be using this flags that I'm replacing here inside of substance to create the proper textures for our object. So Control C, Control B, and underscore high. There we go. Now all of the high ones, I'm gonna Control G into a single group called a wood pillars underscore high. And all of the lows, we're gonna Control G as well, and these are gonna be wood pillars underscore low. And that's it. Let's save the scene because we're gonna be using this one quite a bit. So this is gonna be wood pillars underscore, or wood pillars, that's just the name of the scene. Grab this whole thing and we're gonna export this. So well, let's do the history first, just to make sure we're completely clean. Select all of this, guys. I'm actually, to save myself a little bit of pain later on this low ones, I'm actually gonna assign a new material right now, just a Lambert, that's fine. And this is gonna be called M, as in material, wood pillars. There we go. Now we grab everything, file, export selection, and we're gonna export them as FBXs, and they're gonna be pillars or wood. Since this is the low poly, I'm just gonna call this wood pillars, just like that. Because eventually when we import everything into like Unreal and everything, I want that specific name. So it's gonna be just wood pillars. And then the high polys, we're also gonna be exporting, and these are gonna be wood pillars underscore high. There we go. And that's it, guys. That's it. I'm gonna stop the video right here because I don't want to overwhelm you with more information. This is a pretty standard high poly, low poly, retopology UV preparation for an asset. And then tomorrow we're gonna be taking a look at the texturing process, which is going to be super fast. So I'm actually going to be recording this side to side, so back to back. So I will have the video ready, but I'm going to wait until tomorrow because tomorrow it's D&D night. So I'm probably not going to be able to record a very like concise tutorial for you guys. But don't worry, I'll still check your comments. I'll still see what you guys like about this. And yeah, just make sure to like, subscribe, share. Remember, this is pretty much a full-on tutorial. Like I'm sharing tips and tricks that I would normally do in premium courses. So if you guys want to support the channel and you guys want me to keep doing this sort of things, one of the best ways in which you can do it is of course getting one of our courses down here. So if you haven't checked, if you haven't gotten one specific course that you feel like, maybe I'll check it out later, it doesn't matter if it's from myself or from any other of the instructors. Any course helps the channel and helps us keep on growing. So we really appreciate your support. Sorry for the plug here at the end, but yeah, you know, it's part of the deal. So that's it, guys. I'll see you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.